You hear it all the time, I wish I did this in my 20s, or I wish I did this out of college. Well, look no further, I'm gonna start a series where I start and look at stuff that you should have done in your 20s, or maybe in your 30s, depending on where you are at your life stage. Hopefully this will help you. I'm gonna start out with money because, everyone loves money, right? So hopefully it'll help you. Obviously, if you're looking forward to these, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, so let's get straight into the video. Oh, before I get into the video, just as a reminder, this is not financial advice, this is just my opinion. I need to say that as a disclaimer, so you guys don't sue the shit out of me. But let's get straight into it. I'm going to be using Miro just because it is an awesome whiteboard tool, and even though my writing's horrendous, you guys have to put up with it. Alright, let's get into it. Alright guys, so the first thing you guys should be doing is building your credit history. Your credit history is going to stick with you for the rest of your life until you die. Sad as that is. It's going to tag along you. It's going to show if you're going to borrow money, buy a car, buy a house, blah blah blah, and your bank checks your history. They're going to be checking your credit history because they want to see if you are a risky asset for them to lend money to. If you have a credit history of not buying anything, or you have no credit history, or you have absolutely terrible debt and you haven't paid it back, well, they might reject your application, or they might charge a higher interest rate because you might be a risky asset. One is the unknown, and the other one is, well, you suck at paying debts. So if you're doing credit history, you should be doing it early. Everyone has a credit rating attached to them. Normally, you want to get above, I'd say, 750, but if you're in your 20s, you probably just at least want to get to 700 just to be safe. In my opinion, it is one of the first things you should be doing out of college. When you start building an income, you should be starting to get a credit card, because a credit card is probably the easiest way to build your credit history, just because it's probably the non-committal way. You don't have to buy a house, you don't have to buy a car to start building up your loan. You can just get a credit card, set the limit as low as possible, in my opinion. I know there are other people who tell you to set it high as possible so then you can pay back and show you're responsible, but if you're really scared, which a lot of people are when they hear about credit cards, because hear their stories about people defaulting and bankrupting, just set it low as possible, and then follow this number one rule: only buy things you can afford. It's really simple. It's what literally everyone says to you, but you just have to follow it. If you're making an income of, let's say, 5k a month, set it so you don't go above a certain limit. If you need to save, for example, 2k, you want to invest 1k, so you have spending of 2k, well, maybe take a little gap and maybe only spend 1k of that even. Make sure you keep it safe and don't go overboard. That's when people default on their credit cards, and then their credit history goes to shits. You need to be safe about it. You need to play it smart, right? Another great reason, just as an ad hoc reason, is you collect points. Especially if you sign up for programs with frequent flyer miles and stuff like that, you're going to be starting to collect points. For me, for example, I've collected enough points to fly two return tickets, first class, all the way from Sydney to Europe. Anywhere there. So I've already planned my honeymoon in the future when I get married, hopefully. But that's the awesome things about building that credit history, because you get to build those points as well. So it's killing two birds with one stone, basically. So why shouldn't you start now? So make sure you do it. Of course, be careful with it. Don't go overboard. That's the number one rule. Don't go overboard. Please don't go overboard, okay? If you get a credit card, promise that you won't go overboard, okay? Alright, let's go to the second reason. Alright, the second mistake, not reason, people kind of don't do in their 20s, is they don't invest enough. Now, a lot of people, I think, especially because taking out my friends, for example, 80% of them don't invest. And that's unfortunate because a lot of the times they're sitting at home, they're still living with parents, they don't have enough debt to worry about, and they don't have someone to support, for example, a kid. So if you're in those positions, you might need to reconsider, you might need to lower how much you invest. But if you don't have those obligations, well, you're in a perfect position. We're in our 20s, we have money, we have disposable income. You should be spending to invest, not spending on designer shoes and stuff like that. That can come later, okay? Once you make money. Now, the reason why I personally feel like a lot of people don't invest is because they're scared. It's kind of like the credit card situation. You lose your money, well, it goes down. Well, that's life. You have to learn situations, how risky you are as a person. So if you're thinking about that, you're probably risk averse, which means you probably shouldn't be investing into growth and risky stocks or assets. So I'll put it simple. Once again, this is not investment advice, this is more of my opinion. But I look at it as there's two kind of different buckets. There's obviously a lot of buckets out there if you're looking at it in more detail, but you're probably either a risky person or you're probably a more a safe person, right? It's pretty obvious. I'm just calling these two terms just so if you're new to kind of all these investment terms, and it kind of makes sense to you. If you're a safe person, you probably start looking at index funds. It's a lot safer. Look at the returns over time and put your money in there. It's going to make a lot more money versus sitting it into a bank account and generating very minimal interest. So start looking at index funds. Now, if you're a risky person, well, it's very obvious. You can start looking at stocks. You can start learning even about options, but I will probably don't touch that until you have a comfortable grasp of investing at least in just the stock market and buying blue chip or growth stocks. And if you're kind of in between, maybe look at, blue chip stocks that give dividends, because dividends are, in a way, you can think about it as interest rates, but even better, right? Because a company's paying you higher than what a bank will usually pay you. My dividend portfolio, it's probably coming around to 5 to 6%. It's not the best, but here in Australia, companies are still coming back from lockdown and COVID. So 5 to 6% is probably the most reasonable thing you're going to get. And everything around this revolves around a simple principle about compounding. Now, you might have heard of this, but it's very simple. If you learned compounding interest in high school, then this is probably going to be really easy to understand. But compounding, think about it. You're making 10,000. If you make a dividend of 5%, you're getting $500, and you chuck that 10.5k into your bank. Now, the second year, now you're compounding on top of 10.5k, and it goes and it keeps going, right? So literally, compounding is a way to build up wealth early, and the best time to do it is in your early 20s, because you want to get a good solid foundation to start compounding on. And obviously everyone starts off at nothing, but you will build it over time, and that's how wealthy people stay wealthy. They compound their wealth. So investing is a second mistake that people make. There are heaps of videos on it, which is why I'm not going to go into much more detail. I'm just telling you right now that you should be doing it. Okay, so the third mistake that I've seen people make is getting a freaking car loan. Now, this might be a thing applied to America. It's a lot more applicable to, for example, my American friends who I speak to than my Aussie friends. But I asked my one of my best friends who lives in from San Fran, and she said to me, we get car loans because we just can't afford the housing there. And I'm not sure if that's true, but if it is, that's kind of sad. But if that's how it is, then that's how it is. But if you think about it, if you can put money into a car loan and you're paying off a few hundred a month, that money could go into investing. That investment can make more money in the future, so you can buy better cars outright, and you don't have to pay the bank like 8%, 7% interest rate, right? You're paying money to buy a car, which is a depreciating asset. It's like not killing two birds with one stone. It's going the opposite way. You're saving two birds. I don't know at this point. But you guys shouldn't be taking a car loan if you can. If, for example, you have work purposes and stuff like that and you just simply need it, then that's fair enough. But if you're just buying one because you want to show off to your friend that, you have a new Tesla or something like that, then it's probably not the best investment. You want to be investing in appreciating assets, not depreciating assets, right? And even better, if you lose money on, let's say, a stock, you can at least offset that via tax. Whilst with a car loan, well, it's just going downhill from the moment you buy it. So I'll probably avoid buying a car loan I'm getting into a car loan just because it is how it is, as I just said. So I'm just going to go to the fourth mistake now. Okay, so the fourth mistake, or whatever you want to call it, fourth mistake that you might be making is you're not budgeting your paycheck. Now, you might be going, oh, but I hate budgeting and stuff like that. I'm not telling you to budget your everyday expenses. I personally feel like you don't have to do it, especially if you make enough money. Because you don't have enough obligations to really worry about, as I said countlessly in this video. I'm saying budget your paycheck. This is a lot different, and I'm going to explain why. So when you budget a paycheck, let's say you're making 10k a month, just because it's a really easy number to work with. Let's say you're making 10k a month. I'm going to ask you then, what are you doing with it, right? You might be going, oh, I'm just chucking into my bank account. I'm going to chuck it into a few stocks, buy a pot plant, buy, some cat food, dog food for my dog or cat. That's not budgeting. That's not budgeting your paycheck. Budgeting a paycheck is setting up goals for yourself, as well as percentages of how you're going to allocate your paycheck. So for me, when I first started, I did it very simply, right? I did a very simple method. I asked my friend who's working finance, and he agreed, that sounds fine. Just do it, especially because you're younger. It's okay. So I did this. I took a third of it, and I took a third of it, and I took a third of it, and I split it into spending, took it into saving, and I took it into investing. Now, obviously there are different ways to do this, but this is just my way of kind of doing it, especially when I was younger, just because it was very easy for me to kind of like picture this, and you can work with your, especially with your employer to set this up. You can have multiple bank accounts, you can tell them to chuck money into this so you don't touch it, especially if you have a term deposit, for example. But this is a very simple, simplistic way of looking at it. And this will make sure you don't overspend, you don't invest and then lose them all, and you have a safe base of savings in order to, for emergencies or if you want to purchase something in the future. Obviously, this can change depending on what you want to do. So, for example, if you want to accelerate your growth of making money, but willing to take a risk, then take more from saving and put it into investing, or even spending, right? If you want to have a bit more of a good lifestyle, you want to enjoy a lifestyle, well, maybe stick to this then. A third is a pretty way of doing it. You don't want to go overboard with spending. You don't want to budget paycheck and go, okay, you know what, great video, but I want to put like 9 out of 10 into spending, right? That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to try to be reasonable about it, but make sure you start budgeting your paycheck into percentages and stuff like that, so you can start, planning out your goals in the future. It could be, for example, buying a car. It could be buying a house. So you want to make sure you adjust it and plan ahead, right? Because it's important to actually plan ahead for these things, especially when you're younger. You have the time, you have the resources, you have disposable income, you don't have enough obligations or things you need to worry about. So make sure you start doing this early, especially when you start getting your first paycheck. And the fifth mistake I see people doing, this is just my personal opinion, is 2 parts. Not investing into a side hustle, so trying to make more money on top of what you currently earn, or not investing money into skill sets. So the reason why I want to kind of split this out is because, one kind of makes money, one doesn't make money. But skill sets hopefully leads to side hustling. So it's like a kind of like a loop-de-loop, right? Now, this might cause some controversial opinions, but I personally feel like if you have a side hustle, you have a skill set, it will build up your foundation, especially when you're younger. Not only of this, but it will probably help you with your career as well. It definitely helped it with mine. Now, side hustling doesn't have to be anything too intense. You could be literally going onto a survey site and answering surveys to make a bit of money. I have a great video on this. I made $500 a month, and you can definitely repeat this. I was very lazy with it, and I still made $500 a month. And that is free disposable income. If you're so afraid of investing, maybe just do this and put that $500 into a growth stock and see how it goes. Sorry, excuse me. Now, the reason why I like this idea is because it's putting money on top of what you currently earn. This means it's safer. Other ways, you can start building up your skill sets, which can build towards a better career, another career path, or you're building skill sets that can support your future side hustle. One of my favorite side hustles is writing. It's a very easy way to do it. I've made around a couple of $1,000s a month doing it, so it pays off pretty much every debt I have, and so all of the rest of the money can be spent onto other things, especially investing, for example. So in my opinion, definitely start looking into this. I'm going to link a video there if you want to check out how to do writing, but there's so many videos out there with different types of side hustles you can do. So yeah, check it out and hopefully make some more disposable income for yourself and keep yourself safe, because right now, even COVID's still around, right? And if you lost your job, a side hustle can support you. And I've seen heaps of friends who relied on their side hustles to actually support them because they actually did lose their jobs. Okay, so that's it. Hopefully that helped you. Let me know in the comments below if you disagree or agree with some of the things. Also, if you have any topics that you want to see in the future, let me know. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time, and thank you very much.